Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland. I spoke to some of my family members in Maryland. That's where my family is originally from. They are not fond of Wes Moore. Because you see, Wes Moore, though, he kind of reminds me of the next Barack Obama. That's what he reminds me of. And when Wes Moore was running for office, he really gave people the hope, particularly in the Black community, that he was going to look out for them. Right? Wink, wink. Yeah. But Wes Moore did something recently that has given people a headache, particularly Black communities. Maryland Democratic Governor Wes Moore vetoes bill to study reparations. That's him, guys. That is Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, right? So this is the guy, a lot of people, particularly in Maryland, they had a lot of hope and faith in when he was running for governor, and particularly Black voters in Maryland said he's going to be the one to hear our needs and understand our issues, etc. No, 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 no. And I'm warning you about Wes Moore right now. In my opinion, I believe that he is the next Barack Obama. They are already, and by they, I mean corporate media is already mentioning his name as a potential 2028 presidential candidate. Now, he said on The View he's not interested in running for president, but we've heard people say this before and then they end up running anyway, right? So let me show you what Wes Moore did. Let's go on. Maryland Governor Wes Moore has come under fire after he vetoed a state bill to study reparations as a remedy to the lasting economic and human harms caused by slavery and racism. 3 other Democratic states have successfully passed reparations bills in recent years: California, Illinois, and New York. Wes Moore is the country's only sitting Black governor and is widely seen as a potential Democratic candidate for president in 2028. Maryland's Legislative Black Caucus condemned Moore's move and suggests lawmakers would override his veto. So let's go back to, let's put his face back up here, okay? Can make it a little bit bigger for you. Don't hide from us, Wes. Let's put him back up here, okay? Okay. See, the problem is this. You have candidates like Wes Moore, like Hakeem Jeffries, like Richie Torres, like Jim Clyburn, and they are supposed to represent the Black community. And so people will look at them and say, hey, there's someone running for office that looks like me. Hey, they're talking about the Black community. All right, I should vote and support this person. What a lot of times what people don't know is that people like Wes Moore were selected. They were already chosen. And a lot of times I'm willing to bet you AIPAC already recruited Wes Moore before he ran for governor. Just like I told you the breakdown about Hakeem Jeffries, how AIPAC was already in his ear before he ran for Congress, I'm willing to bet you that AIPAC and probably J Street as well were already in Wes Moore's ear before he ran for governor. These people have been selected for you. We got to be very careful. We have to be careful that the people that are being put in front of us, that they say represent you, are there because they're from the grassroots and not there because they were selected by corporate interests or they were selected by said lobby interest groups to pretend like they're for the Black community, pretend like they're going to do something for Black people when they're actually not. Now, what Wes Moore went on to say is that he vetoed it because he said we don't need another study. We don't need more studies. The studies have already been done. But what he did not do is you don't see him pushing any type of bill to go straight towards cash reparations. You don't see him doing that. What you see him talking about is we got to move towards like entrepreneurship and uplifting Black communities here in Maryland. And as someone whose family is from Maryland, and particularly Baltimore, I have to tell you, what these elected officials have done to Baltimore is absolutely disgusting. The way that they have allowed the city to crumble, the way that they have ignored, you know, the claims and the screams from the Black community over the years is absolutely disgusting. Baltimore is the only city that I can go to when I go back home to visit my family where you literally have a building that's demolished in the middle of the freaking road and the city doesn't even clean it up. That's Baltimore, where you have people living in poverty, where you have to walk around one block. You might be downtown. You go right up the street. You're back in the ghetto. They never wanted to improve it. They never wanted to fix it. And by the way, Baltimore, as long as I remember, had black mayor after black mayor after black mayor. Every puppet that has been put in front of them was selected. They're not from the grassroots. Wes Moore is not from the grassroots. Number one, he's smiling too damn hard for me. Now, if I would have met Wes Moore, as soon as I saw this smile, I'm like, nah, that motherfucker's smiling too hard. He's smiling a little too hard, just like Barack Obama was smiling too hard. And you can't trust it. You can't trust it. You look a little too polished for me. You don't scream grassroots. You look like somebody threw you in a suit and they said, go step in front of the black community, but also make sure you do the bidding of Israel. So the point that I'm trying to make is this. I agree. Studies have been done, but what he did not do is go forward and say, yes, American descendants of slavery in Maryland, yes, they are owed reparations. Yes, they are owed cash reparations. He wouldn't do that. He doesn't do that. He's talking about, let's look into entrepreneurship. You know what you need to be an entrepreneur? Healthcare. More people would try to pursue entrepreneurship if they knew that they would still have their health care if they left their employer. And if you have a family and your family's on your health insurance, you're not going to just quit your job and say, I want to start to try to open a business. Now I don't have health care for my kids. Is Wes Moore doing that? You want to talk about vetoing bills? I bet you Wes Moore didn't veto any bills for Israel. Every state in this country gives money to Israel. Do you know that? That's right. My state of Massachusetts also gives money to Israel. I bet you he didn't veto any of those damn bills. These are puppets that are selected, that are placed in front of you to trick you, to make you think that these people are going to serve your community when they're actually going to put the interests of Wall Street, the MIC, and of course, Israel first. That's why he passes it off and says, well, we don't need another study. Let's focus on uplifting communities and entrepreneurship. You know how many times I've heard this story? Do you know how many times I've heard, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Let's uplift communities. For years, he is being promoted to run for president in 2028. He's not going to push forward any type of reparations bill because Wes Moore wants to continue his political career. Now, he said he's not interested in running for president in 2028, but we'll see. Even if it's not 2028, he may be interested at some point later on down the road. The point is, he doesn't want to mess up his political career. Now, he may have just lost some votes in Maryland from the black community for this one, but he'll make it up. The Democratic Party will help him make up those votes. They'll go out to the lily white communities. They'll go out to those liberal communities in the suburbs, and they'll get white people to come out and support Wes. How do you guys think Jim Clyburn continues to win? It's not a lot of black people voting for Jim Clyburn. It's white liberals voting for Jim Clyburn. So we got to start passing on, and we're not going for the Todd Bridges dude. He really kind of reminds me of Todd Bridges. We're not going for the Todd Bridges dude. You got to be careful. You can't go for the Hakeem Jeffries types. These people are selected. Selected. Phil Scott said something about this as well. I want you to hear what Phil Scott had to say, because what he references here is how the Democratic Party, they just don't learn, and they still expect to get our vote, and they keep putting us last or removing us from the list entirely. Listen to this.
You just don't know when to quit, do you? You don't know when to quit. You don't realize, like, do you like to lose? Do you like to lose? Look at how you lost terribly with Kamala Harris. You gave this woman what did she get, $1 billion, whatever, something like that? She got, and you lost. You lost because a lot of black people said it out. That's really what a lot of it is. And, excuse me, and some black people that did vote, some voted more for Trump, okay, than the last time. Instead of you assessing and saying, you know what, reparations is a very important issue to the most important block of votes that we have, is the FBA vote. You still pushing, no, we ain't doing that, no reparations, no nothing. We're not doing it. How many more elections do you have to lose? How many? Then we get to this other thing. We talk about the Democrats and what they've done. See, let's go back to the
pause for a second. That's the thing, right? Because I think the plan of the Democratic Party, I think eventually they want to get to the point where they don't have to rely on the black vote. I really do. I think that's the plan. I think, look, the same way that I present the data on this show, they saw the data before I did, okay? So the same way that I show you the numbers, how black people stayed home in 2024, when you compare Kamala's election to her predecessors, she lost the black vote. The same way I show you those numbers, they saw those numbers too. They know what's happening. So I think their goal is to try to get other groups to get votes from other groups so they don't have to rely on the black vote. Now, that's not going to happen very quickly. That'll probably be some time. It's probably talking about years before they could get to that point. In the meantime, they'll just dress up people and put them in front of you and say they look like you and they're black like you, so you support them and vote for them, even though, wink, wink, they're going to be working for me and doing things for me.
Civil rights movement. You know why the civil rights movement worked? You know why the civil rights movement, why they got so much done in that time period? Because it was FBAs. 98% FBAs. Of course, you had a couple of Caribbean brothers and sisters in the mix, but it was majority FBAs. All on code. We're trying to get ourselves free. When the Democrats start importing people here, okay, and they start saying, how do we undermine FBA unity? We really can't see. We go in and try to do it. They're going to be suspicious of that. They're going to see us coming. They're going to really unify and get at us. So what do? We go hand pick certain people from the diaspora to come over here. It's not the brothers and sisters in the diaspora that's the riders, right? It's not them. I've met plenty of them. They have told me about the people that come over here to America, just like with that situation with the Afrikaners. You got the white people in South Africa say, them people going over there, that's not the ones you want. They saying it. The white South Africans are saying it, right? Excuse me. And I've met Africans, even talked to some Caribbeans and say, hey, a lot of people that come over here, that's not really the ones, right? And if I did not go over there and talk to them face to face, I would have a different attitude about it, right? I'd probably be extremely anti-immigrant from the diaspora if I didn't go over there and see for myself. But now I know, of course, with travel and talking to brothers and sisters too, we know that's not the case.
So Phil Scott's talking about his experience. And the thing I want to add here is there's been controversy about Wes Moore. Some people say he's not a Black American. His father, from what the information I looked at, his father is American descendant of slavery. His father is, his mother is not. So just FYI for people who were wondering here. So
they handpick people that's going to sell out. They bring their parents over here. They raise their kids to look at us different. They say they want to come over here, benefit from all our, hurt, pain, and death to benefit. There would be no such thing as a Wes Moore if it wouldn't been for our ancestors. Okay. And then you get in this position and you can do good in this position and you say no, which you benefited coming from the Caribbean, coming from Jamaica. You benefited because them folks didn't want nobody over here but them.
And I think one of the points that Phil Scott is making here is that the thing is, it shouldn't even be this way, right? But you see, the system is fixed. It shouldn't be this way. When you look at the Black diaspora, we should all want to work together, but that's not what happens. That's not the way that things work. Now, Wes Moore in particular, this is something that I brought up on Mark Lamont Hill's show. I think that the people do need to understand that it seems like we are constantly being looked over. It seems like, and by we, I mean those of us who are American descendants of slavery, right? Those of us who are our FBA, it seems like we're constantly looked over. You really want to tell me you think Kamala Harris was qualified? Because I can name a number of other women, if we want to stick with the women route, that were 100% qualified, way more qualified than Kamala Harris. Black ones. You really think Kamala Harris was qualified? Because I don't think she was. So when you see like Phil Scott like say these things, and sometimes people hear this and they'll say, oh, Phil Scott's anti-immigrant, da-da-da. No, that's not the case. Phil Scott has traveled, like you talked about this before. He's gone to several countries in Africa and all that type of stuff. Phil Scott, when he's talking about the people that are not trying to work together, he's talking about the people who are trying to divide. He's talking about those who look down on Black Americans the same way that some white people look down on us. That's who he's talking about. And it seems like it is one after another, because it was Barack Obama, then it was Kamala Harris, and now the corporate media and the Democratic Party, they trying to push Wes Moore. I'm looking at the timing of all of this. It's like Wes Moore goes on The View and they're trying to convince him to run for president in 2028. Next thing you know, he vetoes the reparations bill. And like I said, you can say, yeah, we don't need another study. The numbers that study's already been done. The information's there. But then the next response to that is, yeah, let's move forward to pursue reparations for descendants here in Maryland. He's not doing that. Because I know, and I'm pretty sure he knows, that all the big money interest groups that back him and support him don't want that. The moment he goes down that road, his political career will probably be over. AIPAC, J Street, all these lobby interest groups that back him will drop him. And that would be that. And you would hear no more about Wes Moore. He will just be that one dude that kind of looked like Todd Bridges that was the governor of Maryland. Listen to this part as well.
Keep undermining us every step of the way. How the Democrats is going to do what's right by Black people when you have non-FBAs and a few FBAs too, that's part of the boule, undermining us constantly. This is why the grassroots can't stand y'all behind.
The grassroots. And that's the part I really wanted to drive home. Hakeem Jeffries, Wes Moore, Jim Clyburn. Jim just need to go ahead and retire. Just retire. Kamala Harris, all these people. These people are not grassroots. They're not from the grassroots. Some of these people were selected when they were in college. Some of them already had lobby interest groups like AIPAC looking at them when they were in high school. Cory Booker, same thing. They're not from the grassroots, and that's why they get as far as they do in the political space. Now, he mentioned the boule, and this is another thing we brought up before on this show. The Black Boule, the gatekeepers, the Roland Martins. Like this is another problem, right? Some people would refer to them as the Huxtables, kind of like the Huxtables, but they also help maintain that status quo and maintain that infrastructure. They also actively work to silence and black out the Black grassroots. They work to do that. And the thing is, like, people think it's just, they say, oh, it's just white people working against Black people. No, it's not. They actively work to gatekeep and to prevent any more attention going towards something that's grassroots. Now, you want to hear something that's funny? Andy Ellis, who I had on the show, who is running for governor of Maryland, running the Green Party, guess what the big thing on his sign is? The big thing that he's pushing for is reparations, cash reparations. And the current governor of Maryland, who is Black, just told you, no, we don't need that. Let's look at entrepreneurship and uplifting communities. First of all, people need to explain to me, what do you mean when you say uplift communities? Because I keep hearing this term go around. Let's uplift communities. How? What is your plan? Because sometimes uplift communities transfers into gentrification. Sometimes uplifting communities is, we're going to build these new condos in the community, and this is going to be so great for all of you. Your neighborhood is going to be so much better. And then you're kicked out of the neighborhood because the prices on all of this new infrastructure that they built is so expensive that you can't afford it. And that's for somebody else. That's not for the people who are living there. That's for the people who come in there. So what does he mean by uplifting communities? What does Wes Moore mean when he says this? He doesn't have to break down details. No, we're not gonna focus on reparations. Let's talk about just getting you into entrepreneurship. Okay. How are you going to do entrepreneurship with no health care? Tell me. You know the number of businesses that people start that fail? Especially in the restaurant industry. You know how many restaurants fail every year? Do you have something to go back to? Let's let Phil finish here.
This is why the grassroots has a lot of vitriol to all you educated folk in the Democrat Party, because you care about just getting whatever little crumbs that you're going to get, and you say to hell with the rest of the 43 million FBAs that can really use that kind of help. The FBAs in Maryland that can really use that kind of help.
He's just focusing on himself. Wes Moore, and this is the thing, it's not just Wes Moore, it's also the Black Boule as well. This is another thing we talked about. It's all about, like, what can I do for me? What can I do to enrich myself? What can I do to further my career, to further my political career? Pulling up the ladder from behind you. Not leaving the ladder there so that other people in the community can also walk up the ladder and get to where you are. That's selfishness. That's not community. That's selfish. And there's a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people talking about this Wes Moore issue, right? And I'm just tired. There are people defending and saying, oh, well, you guys said you don't want to study, so what are you complaining about? We're complaining about the fact that he didn't offer the details of moving forward, that he didn't offer, okay, this is how we need to move forward. Yes, you guys need cash reparations, and this is how we need to do it. He didn't offer that. The point is, he don't want to do it. Period. And what kills me is when I hear people who are part of the Black Boule who are falling for this, And they're sitting up there and they're telling people, well, guys, he said he's going to uplift communities. That means gentrification. When the communities improve, you won't be allowed to stay there. But Wes will.
Everybody get money. The immigrants was coming in here underneath Joe Biden. What were they getting? Money. They wasn't getting studies. They wasn't getting hopes and prayers. They were getting money. Free hotel, free food, free EBT, free everything. Money, something to spend. Black folks can't even get that.
That part right there. When we ask for a debt that is owed, let's study it. Or, well, we don't need to study. We already got the study. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. I'm calling it right now, guys. Keep your eye on this guy. Beware of this. Keep your eye on Wes Moore. I really do believe this is the future Barack Obama. I really, really do. They're already pumping him up. I remember when I saw Barack Obama on, I think that was Oprah, before he ran for president. You see, the fix is already in. When I say the system is fixed, this isn't happening because the system is broken. This is happening because the system is fixed. We need to break it. The system needs to be broken. Otherwise, you continue to get more Wes Moores, more Barack Obamas, and the communities will continue to crumble, or they'll be rebuilt without you. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.